soul to always desire something. There's no question of becoming desireless. By nature, the living entity, he has to desire something. And Prabhupada also explains, by nature, we have to think of something in our mind. There can never be a state where we're thinking of nothing. We have to think of something, and we have to desire something. Because that is the nature of the soul. So Krishna explains this in 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that the soul is very active. Active means the soul is always thinking about something, desiring something. Something has to be in the mind of the soul. So Prabhupada says, in the same way, in 3rd canto of Bhagavatam, Lord Kapila is explaining this, that the soul has to be also attached to something. So it's not that the soul can ever come to a state where it's completely detached from everything. So what Lord Kapila says is that yes, to get out of this material world, we have to be detached from sense gratification, material objects. But again, the point is there that the soul has to be attached to something. So if we want to let go of our attachments to material things, then we have to hold on to something positive. Because by nature, the soul has to give his heart to something. The soul has to desire something. The mind has to focus on something. The senses, the consciousness of the soul has to be attached to something. So the only way we can give up material attachments is if we have some higher object to get attached to. And that higher object is Krishna. Krishna consciousness. So unless we have that higher attachment, unless we have the higher taste, param drisva nivartate, we can't give up the lower attachments. So the way Maharaj Bharat, he was able to completely renounce everything. Thousands and millions of citizens who all used to love him and glorify him, he completely gave them up just in a second. His very beautiful, affectionate wife, his loving children, his ministers, all of his wealth, just like that in a second, he was able to give up because he had the higher taste. He had that strong attachment to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. Because of a strong attachment, he was able to let go. Because he has positive attachment to Supreme Lord, and he is experiencing great bliss and joy in serving the divine couple. Same way, Raghunath Das Goswami, Nityananda Prabhu is explaining that this is also the nature of our Raghunath Das Goswami. Externally, it seems, he's a materialistic man, he has so much wealth, he's engaging in so much business, so many material possessions he has a young, beautiful wife. So externally, it seems he's just like ordinary materialist. But actually, he's not the slight bit attached to any of these material facilities or opulences he has. Instead, his whole mind, his whole focus is always at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this way, Nityananda Prabhu is glorifying Raghunath Das Goswami's renunciation. The soul, you can say, the mind also. The mind is considered as the sixth sense. So through the mind, the soul is desiring also, like that. So, yesterday we were quoting one verse from CC, which explains Mahaprabhura Bhakta Ganera Vairagya Pradhan Yaha Dekhi Pritihana Gaura Bhagavan. This verse explains that there is one defining quality amongst all the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what is that defining characteristic? The defining quality is that of Vairagya, or renunciation. If you take all the devotees of Mahaprabhu, all of them, they display this one quality of renunciation. Not just the sannyasi followers of Mahaprabhu or the brahmachari followers of Mahaprabhu, but it's given all of the followers of Mahaprabhu, they all display this one characteristic of renunciation. And when Mahaprabhu used to see his devotees displaying this quality of Vairagya, Mahaprabhu used to feel very happy. He used to get great joy. Yaha Dekhi Pritihana Gaura Bhagavan. So the Gaura Bhagavan, the golden Bhagavan, Mahaprabhu, when he used to see renunciation being displayed by his associates, he used to feel great pleasure and joy. So this Vairagya was equally displayed, both by renunciate associates of Mahaprabhu like Garadhar Pandit or Swarup Damodar Goswami, Paramananda Puri, so on and so forth, and also by the Grahastha devotees of Mahaprabhu. So now Raghunath Das Goswami, he's in the Grahastha ashram, but he's equally displaying this quality of Vairagya as the Brahmacharya sannyasi disciples of Mahaprabhu. Text 138. Then Lord Nityananda Prabhu called Raghunath Das near him, placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das's head and began to speak. "My dear Raghunath Das," he said, "since you arranged the feast on the bank of the Ganges, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here just to show you his mercy." So Lord Nityananda Prabhu, being very pleased, he calls Raghunath Das Goswami near to him, and Nityananda Prabhu, he lifts up his lotus feet and places his feet right on top of Raghunath Das's head. And then Lord Nityananda Prabhu tells him that, "I'm very pleased how you followed my instructions with the whole Chidadari festival you arranged. I'm very pleased how you arranged for everyone to get prasad. And during this festival which you arranged, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he himself personally came and witnessed your wonderful service. Not only that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came and accepted the prasad that you were serving out in this festival." So from this we see how we can get the mercy of Krishna. We get the mercy of Krishna by first pleasing the spiritual master. That's what Raghunath Das Goswami is doing. Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he represents Adi Guru. So all the spiritual masters are representatives of Srila Nityananda Prabhu. So in one purport, Prabhupada explains that in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, it is explained that all of our spiritual masters coming down parampara, either they are taken to be representatives of Srila Nityananda Prabhu, or they're considered as one of the close associates of Srimati Radharani. So these are the two ways one spiritual master is seen in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. Either they're seen as representatives of Nityananda Prabhu, or they're seen as one of the close maidservants or associates of Srimati Radharani. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he first follows the instruction of Nityananda Prabhu. He's the Adi Guru and strictly carries it out. And by following the instructions of his spiritual master, he pleases Nityananda Prabhu. And then, by the mercy or by the pleasure of Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu also personally comes and gives his mercy to Raghunath Das Goswami. So this is the way we attain the mercy of Lord. We have to go through the disciplic succession. By his causeless mercy, he ate the chipped rice and milk. Then, after seeing the dancing of the devotees at night, he took his supper. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he hadn't seen all this. He hadn't seen that Mahaprabhu had personally come at his festival and taken the food that he was serving. Now Nityananda Prabhu is revealing everything. That yes, this festival you arranged was very nice, I'm very pleased with this. Mahaprabhu himself personally came and witnessed this festival you conducted, and he also personally took the prasad that you were serving in this festival. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaura Hari, came here personally to deliver you. Now rest assured that all the impediments meant for your bondage are gone. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will accept you and place you under the charge of his secretary, Swarup Damodar. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now Nityananda Prabhu is pacifying Raghunath Das Goswami that don't worry, very soon you will attain the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu will personally put you under the care of his most intimate devotee, Swarup Damodar Goswami, who is his personal secretary. And you will be like his right-hand man. And in this way, you will become one of the most confidential servants of Mahaprabhu. So I think for nearly 16 years, Raghunath Das Goswami stayed in Jagannath Puri, very intimately dealing with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because the person most closest to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was his personal secretary. And Raghunath Das Goswami, he was the assistant of Swarup Damodar Goswami. So he had very close connection with Mahaprabhu and with Mahaprabhu's very confidential devotees, and he was able to witness all of the confidential pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri for I think nearly 16 years. And it is only by the mercy of Raghunath Das Goswami that we have this book, Caitanya Caritamrta. Because who's the author of Caitanya Caritamrta? It's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And who did Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami hear all these pastimes of Mahaprabhu? He heard it from Raghunath Das Goswami only. Because Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, they were only in Jagannath Puri for a couple of months or a year at max. The rest of the time, they were in Vrindavan, writing their books, building temples for the deities, preaching on behalf of Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan. But Raghunath Das Goswami, he was one of the 6 Goswamis who got to stay with Mahaprabhu, who got the most personal Sangha of Mahaprabhu compared to all the other 6 Goswamis. So for 16 years, I think that's the number, he was personally present in Jagannath Puri and he got to personally witness the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. And Raghunath Das Goswami, his mentor was Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami was the personal secretary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all of the pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, Swarup Damodar Goswami, he was personally keeping note of it, keeping track of it in his personal diary. So all the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, after he took sannyas, they were all recorded in Swarup Damodar Goswami's diary. Now the same diary was given to Raghunath Das Goswami. He was the servant of Swarup Damodar Goswami, the most closest servant to Swarup Damodar Goswami. So he got to personally read through all the notes of Swarup Damodar Goswami, and in this way he was able to memorize all of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. Now after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das Goswami, he becomes completely mad in separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he thinks, I'll just go to Vrindavan and commit suicide over there. So with that mood, he leaves Jagannath Puri, goes to Vrindavan to commit suicide. And there he meets Sanatan Goswami, he meets Rupa Goswami, the other Goswamis. And the other Goswami embrace him. And they find out that he's come to commit suicide and they pacify him. And they tell him, please don't do this. You are so fortunate. For the last 16 years, you were personally able to witness all the pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. We've been here in Vrindavan, preaching, writing our books, building these temples, and we haven't heard or seen all of these pastimes. But you are so fortunate, you have personally witnessed all these pastimes, and you have memorized all of these pastimes from Swarup Damodar's diary. So you have such great treasure with you. If you leave, all this treasure will also be gone with you. So you please stay here, and every day you give Caitanya Caritamrta class for us. Every day you speak Gaur Leela for us, so we can also relish the wonderful pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. So in this way they pacify Raghunath Das Goswami, and then Raghunath Das Goswami, he stays in Vrindavan, and every day Raghunath Das Goswami used to speak Gaur Leela. And the Goswamis and all the other Vrajvasis, the devotees in Vrindavan at that time, they used to hear all of these wonderful pastimes of Mahaprabhu that took place in Jagannath Puri, which Raghunath Das Goswami had personally seen or had read from the notes of Swarup Damodar's personal diary. Now one of the devotees who was attending these Gaur Leela classes by Raghunath Das Goswami was Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. So he was in the audience and he was listening to all of these pastimes being narrated by Raghunath Das Goswami, these pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. So then Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he remembers and he memorizes all of these pastimes. And whatever he heard from Raghunath Das Goswami, he then writes in Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. So in this way, this book we're reading now, Caitanya Caritamrta, it's coming down by the mercy of Raghunath Das Goswami, whom we're reading about now. So he's a very great, exalted person in our Sampradaya. So we have a lot of gratitude to offer to him. That's why at the end of every chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will say, Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yarasa Caitanya Caritamrta Koy Krishna Dasa. That praying at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. I continue writing this Caitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps, always desiring their mercy. So these were like his spiritual masters, Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. It is only through Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was able to hear of all these pastimes. Whatever he heard, he's just simply writing down. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so this all happened how? By the blessing, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu is now benedicting Raghunath Das Goswami. Don't worry, I'm very pleased with your service. I give you the benediction that very soon in the future, you'll be able to escape from your household life. You will be able to go to Jagannath Puri, and when you go to Jagannath Puri, I give you the benediction that Mahaprabhu will personally put you under the care of his most closest devotee, Swarup Damodar Goswami. And then for many, many years to come, you will be personally associating with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will accept you and place you under the charge of his secretary, Swarup Damodar. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being assured of all this, return to your home. Very soon, without impediments, you will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Nityananda had Raghunath Das blessed by all the devotees, and Raghunath Das offered his respects to their lotus feet. After taking leave of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and then all the other Vaishnavas, Sri Raghunath Das consulted secretly with Raghava Pandit. After consulting with Raghava Pandit, he secretly delivered 100 gold coins and about 7 tolas of gold into the hand of Nityananda Prabhu's treasurer. Raghunath Das admonished the treasurer, "Do not speak about this to Lord Nityananda Prabhu now, but when he returns home, kindly inform him about this presentation." So, now we're seeing how Raghunath Das Goswami, he's feeling naturally great gratitude towards Nityananda Prabhu for giving him such blessings, such a benediction, and he wants to offer something naturally in return to Nityananda Prabhu. And it is said in the Shastra, prana, arte, diya, vacha, that these are the 4 assets we have which we can offer in the service of the Supreme Lord. One is prana, our very life, artha, our wealth, diya, our intelligence, and vacha, our words, our speaking ability. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he's born in a very rich family and he has a lot of wealth, he has a lot of artha. So he's engaging that artha, he's engaging his wealth in the service of the Supreme Lord. How? He's very clever. He doesn't directly go to Nityananda Prabhu and gives him, 100 gold coins. Because he thinks, Nityananda Prabhu will be very humble and he'll say, no, you don't have to do this. Don't give me money. You keep it for yourself. You use it to maintain your family, so on and so forth. So he knows that if he directly goes, approaches Nityananda Prabhu, maybe he will decline, out of humility or concern for him. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he secretly goes and gives it to the treasurer of Nityananda Prabhu. Gives him 100 gold coins and tells him that don't speak about this to Nityananda Prabhu now, but after Nityananda Prabhu leaves and goes to his home, then you can reveal to him that Raghunath Das has given this Lakshmi to be used in your service. Thereupon Raghava Pandit took Raghunath Das to his home. After inducing him to see the deity, he gave Raghunath Das a garland and sandalwood pulp. He gave Raghunath Das a large quantity of prasadam to eat on his way home. Then Raghunath Das again spoke to Raghava Pandit. "I want to give money," he said, "just to worship the lotus feet of all the great devotees, servants and subservants of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. As you think fit, give 20, 15, 12, 10 or 5 coins to each of them." Raghunath Das drew up an account of the amount to be given and submitted it to Raghava Pandit, who then made up a list showing how much money was to be paid to each and every devotee. With great humility, Raghunath Das placed 100 gold coins and about 2 tolas of gold before Raghava Pandit for all the other devotees. So not only does he secretly give 100 gold coins to be used in Lord Nityananda Prabhu's service directly, but also after that, he is also desiring to also serve the servants of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, the devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So then he approaches a very senior devotee, Raghava Pandit, and he tells him that it is my heart's desire also to serve all the other Vaishnavas, all the other devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. I also want to serve them. I also want to do something for them. So then he takes advice from Raghava Pandit that I have another 100 gold coins and I want to give this in charity to all the other Vaishnavas. Now you please tell me how much amount I should give to which devotee. Because amongst Vaishnavas, different Vaishnavas are in different levels. Some are more senior than others. So naturally, if someone is more senior, one will give them more service. So then he takes the advice of Raghava Pandit, and then together, by consulting with Raghava Pandit, they draw up a list of all the devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So they write down a list of all the names of all the devotees, servants of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and then they very carefully start calculating how much we should give to each devotee. And he asked Raghava Pandit, and Raghava Pandit suggests, okay, to this particular Vaishnava, he's very senior, you give him 20 gold coins. To this Vaishnava, you give him 15. To this Vaishnava, you give him another 15. To this Vaishnava, you give another 10. Like this. They build up a whole spreadsheet of devotees' names and how much charity should be given for each of the devotees. Now, who is Raghava Pandit? Who is Raghunath Das Goswami? They're all, we were hearing yesterday, Raghava Pandit. He's a gopi in Rajalila. And same Raghunath Das Goswami. He's a manjari in the spiritual world. One of the assistants of the gopis. And now one might think, what are they doing here? Calculating, playing around with these gold coins, calculating how much money to be given here. Isn't this all materialistic? But we should see everything is being used in the Lord's service. So again, going back to that verse, prana arte diya vacha, that according to Shastra, these are 4 assets we have, and all 4 assets can be used in the Lord's service. So yes, our life can be used in the Lord's service, our intelligence can be used in the Lord's service, our speech can be used in the Lord's service, and also the Shastras explain that whatever wealth, money we have can also be used in the Lord's service. And Krishna, he doesn't make any distinction. He doesn't see someone giving him money as less than someone, giving his intelligence in his service. For Krishna, everything is equal. He just sees how much of our heart we're giving in his service. Like in one lecture I was hearing recently, Prabhupada is explaining in Bhagavatam class, that, don't think that you're cleaning the temple and you're doing some menial service and the other devotee who is in the altar doing pujari service, he is much greater, he's getting more mercy than you. Prabhupada is saying, no, actually in Krishna's eyes, he is seeing both services on an equal level. He is seeing the devotee cleaning the temple room equally as the devotee who is doing pujari service in the altar. Because Krishna is absolute, Krishna sees both services equally. So in the same way, we shouldn't think that, okay, someone is giving money, that's not such a great thing. Someone is, giving other aspects of his life to Krishna service, that's greater. No, according to Shastras, whatever we have in a possession, we should just give for Krishna's service. If we have a lot of money, then engage that money in Krishna's service. And that's what we're seeing with Raghunath Das Goswami. He was a very rich Vaishnava, he had a lot of money and wealth, and he's engaging all of that wealth in Krishna's service. Now, when we engage that wealth in Krishna's service, what Raghunath Das Goswami is teaching us is that we have to be very careful in how we spend the money. He's not just, very carelessly just saying, okay, I have all this money, you just take it. He's not just blindly just giving money in charity here and there. No, you can see how very carefully he is giving Lakshmi. He has a lot of money, but he's not blindly giving in charity, but very carefully, calculatively, he is giving Lakshmi. He's saying, okay, this much I have given to Nityananda Prabhu. I have another 100 gold coins left, which I can give in charity. And there are all of these many devotees and Vaishnavas. How much should we give to each Vaishnava? So then he consults a senior devotee, one of his mentors, Raghava Pandit, and he discusses with him, okay, this is how much Lakshmi I have. I want to give this in charity. How much should we give to each Vaishnava? And then they very carefully start calculating. They build a spreadsheet of all the devotees' names, and then they start writing, okay, these are the senior Vaishnavas, you should give them more. For them, okay, give 20 gold coins. Okay, then after them, these are the next senior servants of Nityananda Prabhu. For them, you give them 15. Like this, very carefully, they start calculating how much Lakshmi should be given to who. So from this we see that having Lakshmi is a great responsibility. It's a great asset given by the Supreme Lord for us to be used in His service. And Krishna, He very much values what Lakshmi we give for His service. And we shouldn't irresponsibly spend our money, even when it comes to giving donation, we should carefully think about it and think what is the best way I should donate my money, for which particular seva, where I should give the Lakshmi. So this is what we're seeing from Raghunath Das Goswami. Just because he's rich, he's not just blindly just giving money here and there. He's very carefully thinking and planning. Okay, I'll give this much here, this much there, this much there. So Prabhupada also, he was very, very calculated, very, very careful with how he used to spend money, how ISKCON was spending money. A lot of donations used to come, and Prabhupada would always keep an account book. And Prabhupada trained his disciples in different centers around the world to keep, do proper accounting of what Lakshmi was coming in. Whenever there was any expenditure, Prabhupada got them to write all the expenses and all the inputs that are coming. And openly Prabhupada used to say, and it's even there in Prabhupada's purports, Prabhupada explains that not even a cent, not even a farthing should be used for our own sense gratification. Every single cent that comes should be used for the Supreme Lord's pleasure. How it should be used for the Supreme Lord's pleasure? One should consult amongst devotees, as Raghunath Das Goswami is doing. He is consulting with a senior devotee, Raghava Pandit, and he's asking him, okay, this is how much money I have. How should I donate this money? Where should I give in charity? Please tell me. Then he discusses and he spends his money in that way. So we're not against Lakshmi. Everything is to be used for Krishna's service. One time I was hearing one reporter comes up to Prabhupada, puts the mic in front of Prabhupada and tells Prabhupada, Swamiji, if I were to give you $1 million right here, right now, what will you do with those $1 million? And then Prabhupada, he just brushes aside the question by saying, oh, that's a very easy question. $1 million if you give me, I will simply print more books, distribute more books, and I will build very nice, beautiful temples for Krishna. So this was Prabhupada's focus. On one side, he wanted transcendental literatures to be printed and distributed. On the other side, Prabhupada wanted to construct nice temples and facilities to be made where devotees can gather and progress in Krishna consciousness. Another time, some devotees of Prabhupada, they came up to him showing one article explaining about a yogi or some great famous Swami, how someone came up to him giving him a lot of money, and the Swamiji is completely turning away from the money, saying, no, this is Maya, I won't take it. And persons in the public, they're glorifying, wow, such a great sadhu, he's so renounced. He's getting so much money given to him in charity, and he's saying no and rejecting it. This is real sadhu. And when Prabhupada hears it, he's saying, this man is a fool. If they came with the same money to me, with both hands, I would openly embrace it and take it for Krishna's service. So we're not against money, as we're reading from the Shastras. The mood of the devotee is, whatever he has in his possession, he wants to use it to glorify the Supreme Lord. If he has money, he'll engage the money in the Supreme Lord's service. If he doesn't have money, no problem. He has his intelligence. He'll use his intelligence in the Lord's service. He has his speech. He'll use his speech in the Lord's service. And he has his very life. He'll dedicate his very life in the Lord's service. So if someone has wealth, that's a very great boon. It's a very great privilege or asset to be used in the Lord's service. And we should very carefully think about how we want to use that Lakshmi in a proper way for pushing forward the Sankirtan movement, for pushing forward Krishna's service. With great humility, Raghunath Das placed 100 gold coins and about 2 tolers of gold before Raghava Pandit for all the other devotees. After taking dust from the feet of Raghava Pandit, Raghunath Das returned to his home, feeling greatly obligated to Lord Nityananda Prabhu because of having received his merciful benediction. So one might think, okay, just before this, Raghunath Das Goswami, he already got the topmost benediction from Nityananda Prabhu. He already got Nityananda Prabhu to personally put his lotus feet on his head. So what could be a greater benediction than that? To have Lord Balaram put his lotus feet directly on your head and directly give you the blessings that very soon in the future you will be one of the most closest associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's already hit the jackpot, he's already hit the top. There's nothing greater than that. But still, now we're seeing that Raghunath Das Goswami, he's going out of his way and collecting the dust from the lotus feet of Raghava Pandit. So one might think, what need is there for him to collect dust from the feet of Raghava Pandit? He's already attained the perfection. He already has the dust of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. He already has the benediction that he will become one of the most closest associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So why is he still going out of his way and collecting dust from other Vaishnavas' lotus feet? He's already hit the top. Why is he still doing such menial service? So this is the mood of all Vaishnavas. They never think that they're very great or elevated. They always think they're fallen. They always think there's always more room for advancement. And we see this displayed by all different ways. If you look throughout the Bhagavatam, you see so many devotees displaying this quality. For example, Dhruva Maharaj. At the age of 5 years old, he already got darshan of the Supreme Personality Godhead. And he already got the boon or benediction from Vishnu that I give you my very own planet, Dhruva Loka. And you will be the king of Dhruva Loka and you will rule my very own planet where I reside. So right at the age of 5 years old, Dhruva Maharaj, he already attained the topmost perfection. He already has seen the Supreme Personality Godhead face to face, got his darshan, offered prayers, got his blessings, and got the benediction that he will reside in Dhruva Loka for the rest of his existence. So that's it. He's hit the top. Then at the end of his life, when the Vishnu Dutas come to take him to Dhruva Loka, what does Dhruva Maharaj do? Does he immediately get on the plane and just fly to Dhruva Loka? No. Before he goes, he tells the Vishnu Dutas that please wait. I have some service to be do. And at that time, he was doing some austerities along with other brahmanas in some holy place of pilgrimage. So when the Vishnu Dutas come to take him, Dhruva Maharaj, he very humbly tells the Vishnu Dutas that please wait. I have something to do before I leave. He very humbly goes and collects the dust of all the brahmanas who he was associating with in this holy place of pilgrimage. He goes to each of the Vaishnavas, takes their blessings, collects their dust, and then he boards the Vaikuntha ship. Prabhupada in the Prabhupada explains that just see the character of Dhruva Maharaj. He's already a perfected devotee. At the age of 5, he's already seen Vishnu. He's already a pure devotee. He's already got the benediction to go to the spiritual world. And here are the Vishnu Dutas personally there to take him back home, back to Godhead. But still he's saying, wait. Still he's thinking that before I go, I need to get the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. Otherwise, I can't do my service properly. So this is the mood of the Vaishnava. Even though he might be perfected, even though he has attained perfection, he still thinks, I need more blessings. He still thinks, I need more blessings of the Vaishnavas. He still thinks there is more advancement to be made. And to make more advancement, what do we have to do? We have to collect more mercy from the Vaishnavas. So although the Vaikuntha ship is right there, ready to take him immediately, still he's telling the Vishnus, please wait. I need to collect more blessings from the Vaishnavas. And Dhruva Maharaj slowly goes, collects blessings from the Brahmanas, and only then does he get on the Vaikuntha airship and goes to Dhruva Loka. Yes, before that he asked the Vishnu Dutas that it is only by my mother's mercy I came into Krishna consciousness. What about my mother? Is she also going to Vaikuntha? And the Vishnu Dutas tell him that, don't worry, your mother is already going. You see that other, then they point to the sky, another Vimana, transcendental Vimana, taking his mother to Vaikuntha. So then Dhruva Maharaj is pacified, and then he also goes around, takes the blessings of the Brahmanas, and then he gets on the Vaikuntha airship. So this is the mood of a Vaishnava. No matter how great he is, he always thinks there is more spiritual advancement made. And because there's always more spiritual advancement made, he always thinks, he's always greedy and hungry to get more and more mercy and blessings of devotees. So that's what we're seeing. Same thing demonstrated by Raghunath Das Goswami. Although he has got the dust of Lord Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet, still he's thinking that I'm very fallen, I need more mercy, I need more blessings. And he's personally taking the dust of Raghava Pandit's lotus feet and the other Vaishnavas also. Text 155. From that day on, he did not go into the interior section of the house. Instead, he would sleep on the Durga Mandapa, the place where Mother Durga was worshipped. So back then, 500 years ago, in the traditional houses in Bengal or in that section, there would be interior section of the house and the outer section of the house. And like the front porch, you can say, or the front yard. And in the front yard, in general, in those times, they used to have a place of worship for Durga Devi. It was called the Durga Mandapa. So after getting this benediction of Nityananda Prabhu, from that day onwards, Raghunath Das Goswami, instead of sleeping inside of his house, in his bedroom, he used to always sleep outside, in the front yard, in the Durga Mandapa area, where Durga Devi would be worshipped. There, however, the watchman alertly kept guard. Raghunath Das was thinking of various means by which to escape their vigilance. So as we read previously, Raghunath Das Goswami's parents, they knew that, this son of ours, he's completely mad about Mahaprabhu. He just wants to run away, give up all of his responsibilities, and just go do full-time service. So then to stop their son from running away, they engaged or hired many different security guards to always keep a watch on their son, to make sure he doesn't escape. And many times in the past, Raghunath Das Goswami had tried to escape, but every time he tried to escape, these security guards used to always come, catch him, and bring him back. At that time, all the devotees of Bengal were going to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das could not accompany them, for they were so famous that he would have been caught immediately. Thus Raghunath Das thought deeply about how to escape, and one night, while he was sleeping on the Durga Mandapa, the priest Yadunandana Acharya entered the house when only 4 dandas remained until the end of the night. Yadunandana Acharya was the priest and spiritual master of Raghunath Das. So Yadunandana Acharya, he was like the family priest to whom Raghunath Das Goswami and his parents used to go to. And one day he happens to come to the house of Raghunath Das Goswami. Yadunandana Acharya was the priest and spiritual master of Raghunath Das. Although born in a Brahmana family, he had accepted the mercy of Vasudev Dutt. Yadunandana Acharya had been officially initiated by Advaita Acharya. Thus he considered Lord Chaitanya as his life and soul. When Yadunandana Acharya entered the house of Raghunath Das and stood in the courtyard, Raghunath Das went there and fell down to offer his obeisances. One of Yadunandana Acharya's disciples had been worshipping the deity but had left that service. Yadunandana Acharya wanted Raghunath Das to induce the disciple to take up that service again. Yadunandana Acharya requested Raghunath Das, "Please induce the Brahmana to resume the service, for there is no other Brahmana to do it." After saying this, Yadunandana Acharya took Raghunath Das with him and went out. By that time, all the watchmen were deeply asleep because it was the end of the night. East of the house of Raghunath Das was the house of Yadunandana Acharya. Yadunandana Acharya and Raghunath Das talked together as they went toward that house. Halfway along the path, Raghunath Das submitted at the lotus feet of his spiritual master. "I shall go to the home of that Brahmana, induce him to return, and send him to your house. You may go home without anxiety. Following your order, I shall persuade the Brahmana." On this plea, after asking permission, Raghunath Das decided to go away. Raghunath Das thought, "This is the greatest opportunity to go away, because this time there are no servants or watchmen with me." Thinking in this way, he quickly proceeded towards the east. Sometimes he turned around and looked back, but no one was following him. Thinking of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he left the general path and proceeded with great haste on the one not generally used. So now we're hearing about how Raghunath Das Goswami was able to finally escape from his house. So one night what happened? It was very late at night, close to midnight, and at that time, suddenly he sees his family priest or spiritual master, Yadunandana Acharya, comes to his door. He offers obeisances and he asks his spiritual master, "What's the problem? What can I do for you?" And Yadunandana Acharya explains that in his temple, for the worship of the deity, there was one particular Brahmana engaged. And now for some reason or other, this Brahmana has stopped doing his service and he wants to go away. And there is no one else, there is no other Brahmanas to do the service for the Supreme Lord. So Yadunandana Acharya, he requests Raghunath Das Goswami that you please come to this Brahmana, come to this Pujari and preach to him and explain to him about the importance of the service. And you please convince him to please come back again to the temple and continue his Pujari service, because there's no one else to fill for him. And Raghunath Das Goswami, he says, yes, I'll do it. And then he starts walking with his spiritual master towards the house of this Brahmana or this Pujari to convince him to please come back and continue his Pujari service for the deities. At that time, all of the security guards, they were all fast asleep because it was right at the middle of night. So then Raghunath Das Goswami is able to easily start walking off with his spiritual master. Now halfway through the distance from his house to the house of the Brahmana, he tells his spiritual master that, my dear spiritual master, don't worry about this, I'll take care of everything. You please go home, you take rest, leave it to me, I will settle all the matters. I will personally go and convince this Brahmana to please come back and worship your deity. You please leave and you take rest. So then Yadunandana Acharya, he leaves, and now Raghunath Das Goswami, he's all by himself. There's no one around him. Security guards are fast asleep back at home, and he thinks that this is it. This is my opportunity to escape. There's no one around me. I'm all by myself. It's the dead of night. Now is the time for me to escape. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he uses this opportunity to escape. And he's very clever. There is one general path which was used by the devotees to travel from Bengal to Jagannath Puri. And he very intelligently chooses not to go through that path. Because as soon as his parents will find out that he has left house, immediately they'll send many different persons to search for him in the general path. So instead of going through the common path from Bengal to Jagannath Puri, he goes through some back streets or back roads through the forest, so no one could catch him. Thinking of the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he left the general path and proceeded with great haste on the one not generally used. Giving up the general path from village to village, he passed through the jungles, thinking with heart and soul about the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So completely focusing on the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he then starts running very hastily, running away from his house. And he goes through some back path, village to village, through forests, where no one could find him. He walked about 30 miles in one day, and in the evening he took rest in the cowshed of a milkman. So walking 30 miles in one day, that's a huge distance. And the whole day he fasted, he didn't eat a single thing. When the milkman saw that Raghunath Das was fasting, he gave him some milk. Raghunath Das drank the milk and lay down to rest there for the night. At the house of Raghunath Das, the servant and watchman, not seeing him there, immediately went to inquire about him from his spiritual master, Yadunandana Acharya. Yadunandana Acharya said, "He has already asked my permission and returned home." Thus there arose a tumultuous sound as everyone cried, "Now Raghunath Das has gone away." Raghunath Das's father said, "Now all the devotees from Bengal have gone to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das has fled with them. 10 men should immediately go catch him and bring him back." Raghunath Das's father wrote a letter to Sivananda Sen, asking him with great humility, "Please return my son." In Jankara, the 10 men caught up with the group of Vaishnavas going to Nilachal. After delivering the letter, the men inquired from Sivananda Sen about Raghunath Das. But Sivananda Sen replied, "He did not come here." So when news was brought that Raghunath Das has disappeared, his parents, they thought he must have traveled with the party. Like every year, all the devotees from Bengal, they used to make a pilgrimage to Jagannath Puri. And they used to attend Ratha Yatra, attend the cleaning of the Gundicha temple. And for the whole Chaturmas period, for 4 months, they used to stay in Jagannath Puri. Then they would return back to Bengal. So just before Raghunath Das, he escaped from his house, just some time ago, devotees from Bengal, they had left on pilgrimage to go to Jagannath Puri. And as we all know, the party was always led by Sivananda Sen. He used to take care of the accommodation, the prasadam, which path to travel, where to go. He used to take charge of all the devotees from traveling from Bengal to Jagannath Puri. So then, naturally, Raghunath Das's parents, they think that definitely he must have gone along with Sivananda Sain and all the other Bengali devotees traveling to Jagannath Puri. So immediately he sends 10 men to quickly go catch up with Sivananda Sain's party and ask them to please return their son. But when these 10 men come to Sivananda Sain says, Raghunath Das hasn't come here. He hasn't joined us. We haven't seen him. Then the 10 men, they come back. The 10 men returned home, and Raghunath Das's father and mother were filled with anxiety. So Raghunath Das, he very cleverly, he knew this would happen. He knew that they would suspect that he has traveled with the Bengali devotees. So he very intelligently, thoughtfully, he goes through the back way, through the jungles, where no one could find him. Raghunath Das, who had been resting at the milkman's house, got up early in the morning. Instead of going to the east, he turned his face south and proceeded. He crossed Chhatrabhoga, but instead of going on the general path, he proceeded on the path that went from village to village. Not caring about eating, he traveled all day. Hunger was not an impediment, for his mind was concentrated upon obtaining the shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as he's traveling through these forests and villages, most of the days he's not eating anything. He's just completely fasting. But this fasting is not bothering him. Why? Because his whole mind, his whole consciousness is simply fixed at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's in complete samadhi. Just like Maharaj Parikshit. For 7 days and 7 nights, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam without eating or drinking anything. Same way, Sukadeva Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days and 7 nights without eating or drinking anything. How were they able to overcome hunger and thirst? Because of being completely absorbed in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Krishna's lotus feet. Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. So when one is in that high level of consciousness in samadhi, completely fixed at the lotus feet of Lord, then he's completely overcomes all bodily consciousness. So that's what Raghunath Das Goswami is displaying here. Sometimes he chewed fried grains, sometimes he cooked, and sometimes he drank milk. In this way he kept his life and soul together, with whatever was available wherever he went. He reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days, but he could eat only for 3 days on the way. So for him to travel from his house in Bengal to Jagannath Puri took him 12 full days to go through the forest, to go through the back way, through all the villages. So in this 12-day journey, it is mentioned, only for 3 days he was able to eat along the way. The rest of the 9 days out of 12, he just completely fasted. He didn't get any food. So much austerity he took to attain the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He reached Jagannath Puri in 12 days, but could eat only for 3 days on the way. When Raghunath Das met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord was sitting with his companions, headed by Swarup Damodar. Staying at a distant place in the courtyard, he fell down to offer obeisances. Then Mukunda Datta said, "Here is Raghunath." As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these words, he immediately welcomed Raghunath Das. "Come here," he said. Raghunath Das then clasped the lotus feet of the Lord. But the Lord stood up and embraced him out of his causeless mercy. Raghunath Das offered praise at the lotus feet of all the devotees, headed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Seeing the special mercy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had bestowed upon Raghunath Das, they embraced him also. Okay, we'll stop here. So now finally, Raghunath Das Goswami is successful in escaping from his house. And now finally he's arrived in Jagannath Puri. He is now at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now how Mahaprabhu receives him, how Mahaprabhu takes care of him, we'll hear in the coming verses. Yes, Ru. I'm not sure, Prabhu. Sorry, I don't know. No. it was just a general custom that in every house back then in Bengal, they would have an inner section and the outer section. In the outer section, everyone would just have it's called a Durga Mandapa, like just a separate place where Durga Devi would be worshipped. So there was that front portion of the house, that was the portion where Raghunath Das Goswami used to sleep. So instead of sleeping in his bedroom, he used to just sleep in the front yard where the Durga Mandapa was. And one day, Yadunandana Acharya, he comes and he meets Raghunath Das Goswami in the outer portion of the house. And he tells him that in his house or in his temple, for his deity worship, he had employed one Brahmana to worship the deity, but this Brahmana, for some reason, he has stopped doing the service and doesn't want to do the seva anymore. And there is no one else to replace him, so you please convince him to continue worshiping the deity. So that's different. That's not here. That's not. Okay. Shri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.